welcome back to Recorder on the Wall, where we're actually read a book in God knows how long. I'm your host, Pete.
I'm Matthias, and wow, this is weird.
I'm Katie, and where even am I? What is this?
I'm Braden. I think I forgot how to read for a while.
Oh.
So, folks, yes.
Oh, I have books for that, Braden. I can get phonics books from work.
Thank you.
Careful, you might get hooked on phonics. For all of you else early 90s kids growing up, I hope you got a laugh out of that. Anyway, we covered the Road Crew. We're at the 22nd of 22 books, folks.
We made it. We did it.
Yeah.
Woohoo!
And we may have even found a character we've been looking for quite some time, but more on that later. So, obviously, I want to answer straight up, is this the end of the podcast? No. No. We have done most of every Redwall media that we have access to, yes. But there's still plans of what we're planning to do afterwards, including a rapid-fire review of every book. But more on that later.
And if you have suggestions, for what you want us to talk about, let us know.
Please.
Absolutely.
Now, we are going to treat the next 3 episodes like it's a regular book read, like we've been doing this whole time. Because there are only 3 books, right? And there's none of this 4th one that we got from the last one?
Yeah, there's only 3, unlike the weird outlier of Sable Queen.
Yeah.
Sable Queen is the only one that does 4, which is why it felt so odd, uncomfortable.
And then let's actually address the potential uncomfortableness right out of the way. So when this book came out in 2011, it was posthumously, meaning Brian had died before this book came out. Now, there is all kinds of theories online, and I almost want to do the meme of the conspiracy board of, hey, how much did Brian write of this, and how much was added in by an unknown author, potentially a ghostwriter or editor. And spoiler, we're not doing that. It's not that isn't a worthy question, and whatever was added or subtracted or edited in this book probably bears worth mentioning, but here's the problem. We don't know. We don't have a credible source online to have any idea of what could be the book status. So this is the only time we're going to talk about it, and maybe at the end of the 3rd book when we need to go back and reflect. But if you're wanting me to make a conspiracy board and put up pins with yarn, I'm not doing it.
The only thing I will say is I just checked my copy. I have my first edition that I read exactly once. I bought this the week of release. I have the original receipt inside from Borders, mind you. Rest in peace, Borders.
Oh my.
But the date on the receipt is May 6th, 2011. So we're talking literally one day beyond 3 months after Brian passed. And usually at that point, I think most books would be well into they're about to be published stage. So make of that what you will.
Yeah. At that point, I would agree with my colleague here. If there was any changes at that point, that had to be minor. Books need time to go to print and be assembled and ship and everything. Speaking of weird conspiracy theories, maybe not some series, we had an unusual start to this book as well. Now, not every book does it. Some of the Redwall series will put in a map, and for majority of them that do a map, it is a traditional, you look dead at it, and usually they point north and upward, but not always. And if there's any kind of angle, it's always very minor, so you have a good idea. Now, this doesn't always show especially the Redwall maps to this point have not always shown us the best way of scale and how long a mouse would take to get from Mossflower to Salamandastron and back. But
like the mouse flies?
Yes. This one also has a map, but it is very odd. Frankly.
Like a schematic.
Good word.
Kind of.
Honestly, the map we get in this book is a 2-pager, at least it is in the Kindle ebook. And it's like from a helicopter or drone flying over the ocean, because it starts us looking at Salamandastron in the one corner, directly at Redwall, and it pans left, basically over most of the country. Again, minor spoilers along the way. And we don't get like character paths or anything, and of course, Mossflower's geography has changed yet again, as it sometimes does in these books. Especially with the course of the River Moss. But yeah, we can see Redwall pretty clearly, like way closer than it should be. So this is more of artistic than an actual cartography. And yeah, okay. So this is a very odd approach. We don't even see the island the bad guys call home on this map.
Which always feels weird, because whenever there's a like island home for these guys, it's usually like, oh, here it is. Don't get it this time.
And I was hoping well, minor spoilers, I was proven wrong, because I mean, come on, you're listening to this podcast. Spoilers are expected at this point. One of the areas mentioned is Pygmy Shrews, and I'm like, oh, are we actually going to get to see the eastern coast and maybe see the ruins of Marshank? No, we will not. At least not yet.
At least not yet.
Only Katie knows, and Katie's not telling.
Yep.
Nope.
Because I'm reading this for the first time.
Yep,
Matthias,
so
you're
am I.
not.
I've read this exactly once. I read it after release and then specifically put it down so that if I were to ever read it again, it would be a special experience. And this
Spoiler alert.
podcast is worth it.
Spoiler alert, characters die in this.
What?
Yeah.
Are any of them
actually,
orphans?
Yes.
Well, we
slaves?
need at least one orphan.
Yes.
So, we also have the map. Going back to the map, we have Redwall at the edge of Mossflower Wood instead of like deep in the middle of it, which is weird.
It's kind of there, yeah.
I mean, for me, the weird thing is because it's going down at an isometric angle, the marker that indicates north is in the lower right-hand corner of the 2-page spread, and it's pointed up towards the upper left-hand corner. You normally expect it to be like up and down, like in relation to the spine, and here it like crosses over at an angle. It's like, what are you? I can't. What?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah, we don't know. And then we get a very Willy Wonka-esque poem in the prologue. So, or at least that's what was my feeling. About the Weaver of Tales and the Dreamer of Dreams. Well, hope the Redwallers are harvesting some snozberries.
He's definitely said that phrase before.
He has. And it's probably the most Brian Jakes way to start off our final official book journey, just because it's very much in the spirit of how Brian approached his storytelling, to say, hey, look, I'm here to, sit you around a campfire and tell you a story that will leave you on the edge of your seat until we have to stop, go to bed, and then I'll pick up the tale tomorrow night and we'll keep going until I've told you the whole thing.
Yeah, I mean,
Let me borrow Brian's own words here. He is painting pictures with words.
Right.
Yes.
And I mean, the thing that, like, I will always kind of like this book a little bit less than the others because there's not an official Brian Jakes audiobook of any kind. And I don't know, the most comforting part of Redwall books for me is him reading it. And I understand why there wasn't an audiobook. It might have been too painful for like Mark Jakes or someone to read it. But I just am sad that there's not an audiobook.
It's interesting because the dedication credit is to Jimmy Jakes, a great pal who's an outstanding brother.
Aw.
Yeah. Speaking of which, I want to, if you don't mind, just read the Dust Jacket, the back author description.
Go ahead.
Because it makes me It makes
Oh,
me
yeah.
sad and happy at the same time.
We probably won't get copyrighted striked on that, so go for it.
Yeah. Dr. Brian Jakes was both a master storyteller and a jack of all trades. He lived the life of a sailor, actor, stand-up comedian, radio host, Bobby, and even a bus driver. He was the recipient of an honorary doctorate in literature from the University of Liverpool and a New York Times best-selling author of more than 25 books for younger readers, including the wildly popular Redwall series. Dr. Jakes was a lifelong resident of Liverpool, England.
I kind of got a little misty hearing that.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. When I first read that too, opening up the book again for the first time in over a decade, it was like, aw, pulls at
Yeah.
my heartstrings.
So, book 1, A Small Glutton's Dream. And
That is a good book title. I will give you that.
Yeah. Begins with an
mean-
interesting glyph that looks straight out of the Book of Kells.
I was about to say, it's some kind of Celt work, not work shield thing.
A bunch of rabbits twisted together, and what is going on at Salmanstrom? So,
Are these the Redwall equivalent of biblically accurate angels?
sure. And for Katie, just for your sake, what we have is a intricate, looks like a knot, and some of it is just like swords or seaweed, but there's at the center there's 4 rabbits that spread out like a clover.
Okay.
So it's something that you would see like painted in old like medieval Bibles from monks with too much time on their hands. But that was their job back then.
Yeah,
So-
illuminated text.
So
Yep.
chapter 1 begins with the symbol of the main bad guy, and that looks like an owl. I'm sorry, but it does.
Now that you
Right.
say it, I can't unsee it, thanks.
So the bad guy standard or sigil is a trident with eyes on either end. In between the prongs, essentially, to like stare and creepy out at. But yeah, the first thing I'm like, that's an owl. That was my first like, that is an owl. But no, apparently it's not even not even a rat. It's a were-rat or a wee-rat. And we don't have an audiobook for pronunciation here.
We definitely don't.
Yeah, well, we've encountered them before. Remember Matameo and
Yes.
This is not a were-rat.
Lomhedge. It is.
Yeah,
Oh, it's the same thing?
I believe
It's the
so.
same
Let
thing.
me verify, but I believe it is.
I'm pretty sure they're 2 different things, but yeah.
Opening.
Yeah, it's a
My book.
were-rat. W-E-A-R-E-T is what it's in Matameo. What we're paraded as the bad guy species here is W-E-A-R-A-T.
What's the one that's spelled E-T-T-E? Is it French?
We've made that joke before.
Oh!
Ah.
We had
Yep.
outrageous French accents.
Yep, it is ET. Yep. Let me look in Lomhedge to see how they spell it in that one, because there was definitely a blood of the great Werat runs in your veins, oh mighty whatever.
Karen Jewel.
And
Yeah,
there's
that.
Demogorfing, the great rat, or Clooney, who's the pork and cheese rat, and not impressed. So
Anyway, keep talking while I look this up.
but yeah, it's spelled like were-rat. I can't say were-rat, I have to say were-rat, but we don't have a pronunciation on here. Now,
Yeah.
we're told that this maybe is a hybrid, so maybe it's the same thing. We don't know. But truly,
Or maybe it's
beast
a hybrid. Maybe it's a hybrid of 2 different things other than the previous one, so that explains the spelling difference. Who
Yep.
knows?
It is an ET in Lomhedge as well.
So yeah. So I mean, maybe the bad guy gets more aggressive at the moon. I don't know.
That's what I was thinking.
So we've been told truly a beast that should never been born, an obscure hybrid that cannot be categorized with any beast. My original species, OC, do not steal.
Mm.
Oh, we'll get back to that later.
So yeah, that's how we're introduced, and we're told all these. I mean, Brian's very good with the language here of these things are nightmarish. They're maybe part weasel, part rat. Danger within. And we literally get this story of the Razid Wirat is the big bad for this book. And he starts off by attacking a holt of sea otters and gets his butt kicked.
Yep.
Yay!
Well, that's going to be a short book. Okay. No, so yes, they are on the ship, the Green Shroud. And
Your Honor, I object. Green Shroud is not a very vermin name. Why not something like Wave Ripper or Death Sail?
So I
Or
think it's
Iron
because the
Fist?
sails are green on the ship.
Granted. But it also sounds like something that the Woodlanders would come up with when retaking a captured ship and giving it a new name.
Fair.
Or something that a Divin would think was cool, like, this is my ship, the Green Shroud. It's great.
I mean, we don't know who's telling this story, do we? There was no prologue to start us off on that part.
My OC ship, do not steal.
Right?
So, yeah,
I
the ship is, raiding these western coasts as ships are wont to do. They don't pick on Salamander Strand yet. We will get to that. And we have the main big bad, Razid, and it has a vixen, Seer, who, okay, this one is on the charlatan side instead of, actually possessed of the second sight.
Oh, yeah, she's no Grisul.
Oh yeah.
Ew. So we
I
also have
to say about her characterization, but we'll get there.
We also have Moleg, who is the first mate and, loyal minion. Very loyal.
Wait. Are we in Skyrim now? Did we just have a Skyrim moment?
What?
Anybody?
I started that game. I didn't get very far.
It's been a while. There's a Daedric prince called Moleg. Okay, never mind. Ignore me. That's all flat.
That happens with our jokes on the den. So yes, our whole thing is that the big Green Shroud is going to be scary and attack a holt of sea otters who call themselves the Rogue Crew. Title drop. Yeah, and their leader is Score Axehound, and that's an awesome name.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Jake's has some terrible names in this one, but he also has some pretty good ones.
There is a pun name to come that made me like, really? Really?
Yes.
We will get to that.
I will say, though, the name Skor, Skor, it's like, that is a very Skyrim name, very like Nordic, Scandinavian, somewhere in there. And it's like, we find out later, minor spoiler, that, is like, oh yeah, these are otters that are clearly like Viking otters.
And one would think picking on not only otters, but sea otters at sea would be incredibly foolish because they can meet your ship as it comes ashore. But yeah, that's kind of what happens.
Yeah, and the seer's like, maybe don't do this. And of course she's ignored. And of course that's going to go wonderfully, right? Right?
Yeah. And yet
Absolutely.
the vermin get their butt kicked.
I always say, should have listened to the woman.
You're not wrong, but hold that thought for this pygmy shrews later on.
Yeah.
But to the point that the otters have a song of basically amounts to not goodbye, but making fun of them as they like bye as the vermin turn with their ship on fire.
Yes.
And very cut up by spears, arrows, and slings to the point that the big bad gets very badly burned.
A little singed.
I mean, insert your Austin Powers joke here. If I'm very badly burned, but yes.
Oh yeah.
But yes, they managed to put the fires off enough, but their ship is almost adrift. Like, they can barely control it back to home island. which is what name?
Uh,
Irgrashile?
sure. This one I don't
It's
know as
not
well as the
important.
other ones.
They leave quickly enough, and then they don't go back, at least in book 1, so it's not important.
No, it's their
Yeah.
home base, and the home base is even on the map. So
Yeah, so it's like, if it's not on the map, it's not important.
yeah, and the ship finally makes it back to shore. They surprisingly spirit the very wounded leader to, basically quarters to not let see both the island-bound vermin and the rest of the ship, where he is, because established in the series, an injured leader is vulnerable to mutiny unless you're Clooney.
Yes.
So, but yes, we have potential mutineers. Straight up Starscream with a grime of worm tongue. It is what's his name? Ironhook?
Bragio Ironhook.
Bragio Ironhook and oh lord. Crumb Dunn.
Cromdon, yes. I would say
Yeah.
Cromdon.
We have the outspoken captain/leader belittling his boss and their failure trope. Ding!
Yeah, right.
Yep.
We've got Gaston and LeFou here.
Yeah, thank you.
Mhm.
That's an even better way to look at this. It's just literally
Yeah.
Gaston and LeFou. And Resid is, slowly recovering as, this takes, a season and a half for him to finally be up on his feet. But even the middle of it, the big bad's just like, I will live. And don't put me Gloria Gaynors, I will survive in my head.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
no one tries to kill the leader. They don't know that he's not everybody knows he's alive though.
Yeah.
yeah,
Everyone's
he's
just like,
basically they know that he was brought in barely alive, and so there are rumors that, well, he didn't actually make it. So everybody's probably assuming, yeah, he's dead, and his number one cronies are probably just keeping up this charade for their own power, because that's what they would do if they were in that position.
So again, why isn't this descended into chaos as they work out a new leader? We don't know, but it doesn't, unless this Brugio Ironhook is that much stronger personality to at least keep violence from popping out, and he's dead.
Well, Vermin HR probably had this under control for a while.
Point. So we're told Bragio is actually, he's arranging for ship repairs, including some innovative. We'll start there. Innovative ideas to add to it. We'll cover those later. But we also find out, and of course, they have slaves on the island and their repair crews. Because of course they do.
Yeah.
They have specialist slaves.
Yep. Bragio is predicting. Yep.
He's
yes.
bragging, maybe?
Yep. He isn't dead yet at the end of chapter 1. Spoilers, he does. But yep, he's gonna rename the ship after himself, the Ironhook, and yay. And I love this line of when Resid finally says, "When am I gonna be okay to move about again?" And I wanted to ask, well, when you need to sign our paychecks, then we'll get you.
Yeah.
And the way it describes him, even though he's recovering his injuries, it's between your behavior and your appearance, you're basically a combination of Gabul and Rigophilus.
Ah, I can see that.
Sure.
So, it's a good first start to show us the bad guy, but also the bad guy getting hurt right from the get-go. And I'm sure he won't be possessed of any vengeance later on, right?
Oh, of course not.
No.
No.
In Redwall?
No.
So, yeah. That's the start. Chapter 2 begins us with Redwall, and the chapter art is a mouse running for cover as it's pouring down rain. So, and we see, I guess, the interior of the abbey. So rain arrives, and everyone runs for comfort.
Yep.
The very first line of the chapter is, brisk breezes cause the window shutters to rattle and clatter around old Redwall Abbey. So Redwall is officially old now. Thanks.
I mean, remember from Doom White, it's at least 250 years old.
I know, but it's just like, if you're having to point it out, it makes it that much worse.
Yep.
It's
Old,
a commentary
it's
on the
old.
reader.
Yeah.
So we are introduced to a couple of our Redwall officers, although they're not much in this overall section. But we have a younger side of an abbot, a Abbot Tib, who is a squirrel, and the infirmary keeper, Sister Fisk, who is a mouse.
So I just have to say, could this be an alias for a certain squirrel who went missing in Matameo?
I wonder.
Because
There's a
I will get
non-zero
out my
chance.
I will get out my conspiracy board for this. Where's the red yarn?
Because we did say in Rogue Crew that we were going to finally find Mr. Squirrel, and there's a squirrel with a very weird name.
And it's a Mister.
Yep.
So you're telling me he's a
And we never
Highlander.
found out we never did find out Mr. Squirrel's first name, so
No.
it could have been Fib for all we know.
This whole time, yeah.
I'm going with my Highlander theory. Thank you. But yeah, and the first thing this abbot does is, instead of allowing his officers to handle smaller things, he decides he's going to dress down I won't call him an adult, but he's not a Dibbin either, a hedgehog who decided to eat an entire fruitcake.
I would say middle schooler.
Yeah.
Sure.
All we know is 3 seasons out of being a Dibbin.
Yeah.
We're also reminded what a Dibbin is in this,
Of course.
which is interesting. But yeah, yes, this. But we're also, as the abbot is making his way to dress down this hedgehog, we're introduced to Jum Gertie, Redwall's quote cellar dog. So we have a otter in charge of the cellars.
I think that's kind of clever. Cellar dog, cellar hog.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then a couple of Dibbins who are like, "Ooh, can we watch this hedgehog guy get punished?"
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Only if we get to make popcorn.
I love it because the one Brinky, I half expected her to say something along the lines of, "Father Habit's gonna say some naughty words," or something like that, because that feels like something a Dibbin would say.
Yeah.
It's sort of like the equivalent of staying home, being able to watch like daytime TV, like Jerry Springer.
Yeah, I was
As
the
a
Price is
kid.
Right.
Yeah.
Price is Right all day, every day.
Eh.
I love Price is Right.
So, yep, we have the Glutton Hedgehog, an Ugo Wiltud.
I always said Ugo because it's two G's,
too.
but
No, I like yours better. So
what a name though, Ugo.
I know.
I will put forward that I think instead of an it should be an oo, so Ugo.
Ugo.
Because
Ugo.
because it kind of sounds like you go wilted, which is the way his behavior is about to be for the next couple chapters.
Yeah, I kind of find him an annoying protagonist, to be honest, but we'll get to that.
I'm not a fan.
He's basically, I pointed out later in my notes, but he reminds me a lot of Orkwill from Doom White.
I don't know. Orkwill was just...
Not Doom White, Eulalia.
Yeah,
Sorry.
I know what you meant. Orkwill was a little more likable in my opinion, though, because he had his annoying moments, but he also had a little bit more charm.
I was thinking Cheek from Matameo.
Oh, see, I liked Cheek.
Yeah, Cheek was likable. This guy is less so.
Yeah.
Because Cheek had charisma. I don't think either Orkwill or Ugo have any kind of charisma whatsoever. Their entire personality is around, I have this terrible vice. For one of them, it's borrowing, and the other
Yes.
is, I should have been born a hare.
Yeah.
Don't worry, I'm taking out my D20 for charisma rolls later.
Okay.
And whining. Ugo also whines a lot.
Ugh.
Does.
So we literally have a beginning. Our first introduction to Ugo is that he is dreaming in clearly what is a prophetic dream. So, Martin's already up acting. So, but this is after he ate entire fruitcake. And if you remember previous episodes, it's one thing to bake a cake out of a recipe box in the modern day, but making a cake from scratch is a pain in the butt.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
A
Now,
lot of
we
work.
can make all the jokes you want about fruitcake and the cliche around Christmas, but actually well-made fruitcakes are pretty good. What you usually see the cliche around Christmas is like the pre-made ones you get in the grocery store because they for $2 kind of thing.
They are not good.
No.
Well, it's a red wall cake too. There ain't no way it's bad.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. But the store-bought fruitcake is usually in like a Yule log form, which often leads to the joke of, are you going to put that in your fireplace?
So Ugo's dream is that a ship is coming over land, not up the River Moss, because that would make sense, over land to come after the Abbey.
I feel like we've seen this before.
No. Couldn't be.
So,
Brian
And-
Jakes? Writing tropes?
okay, let's be honest, Jake was the formula writer. Once he found something that worked, he kept going with it. So was Shakespeare.
Right.
Oh, absolutely. I find it hilarious because people point it out as if it's a bad thing. I think it's actually one of his better traits for writing.
I mean, I'll be honest, this is what kind of chased me away from the series when I was a child, but I was growing out of that. I'm an adult now.
Mm-hmm.
I want my
So-
comfort food.
Right.
So, yep, basically, the abbot kind of chews him out, but it's more like, well, it's a weird dream. Yeah, you're still a jerk for eating that entire fruitcake, buddy.
Yeah, that's a lot.
They said it was big enough for like 10.
Yeah.
Yeah, it said,
Yeah.
you're having a nightmare after gorging on enough hefty fruitcake to feed 10 creatures, and this was your reward for the deed, you stupid young rip. Wow, don't mince words, Abbott. What do you really mean?
Yeah. Goodness.
This is Abbott getting off on his power.
Maybe a little.
No.
Well, meanwhile, all the way back at that island, our bad guy is still suffering the pains of his injuries, but the burns to his body would have killed a lesser creature, but not a Weret. I don't know. Whatever. You hear me use it both. So, and yep. And props to where this is maybe one of the few bad guys to actually recognize this. He admits to himself that maybe Brachio Ironhook may be a little smarter than him at some
So therefore,
point.
I'm going to murder him.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
he's totally got to die. But yeah,
I just put in my notes, bad guy ego recognizes talent and can't stand it. Ding!
Yeah.
yep. And we get into one of my favorite parts that is going to come up at least once or twice here, is that they must have one heck of an ale master on that island who's responsible for brewing their grog, because they name their grogs based after the taste and effects. And we're getting shark's tooth, scorpion sting, and old turtle beak. And there's still a few other flavors to come in later.
I think this is the first time that they've named the grogs, right?
Yep.
It is, yeah.
Everyone's celebrating because the ship's repaired and Ironhook's gonna take her out, and he's picked his crew, and they've got grog flowing, and they've got even lobster for dinner. So,
Right.
yay, and everyone's celebrating, and Ironhook's dead.
Yep.
Yeah, a decapitation in chapter 2. really sets a tone for the rest of the book. I mean, Brian goes out of his way to, point out that, his head got separated from his shoulders and it ended up in one of the grog barrels.
Oh boy.
Chapter 2.
And as it is described as, after post-healing, he had lost both ears. His head was a mass of shining scar tissue minus the fur. One of his eyes was slitted, half shut, and leaking.
Yep.
Ugh.
Yeah, I don't think you have the best doctors on that island. Oh, right. It's just your seer.
Yeah, why are the seers
So
always
what
the
I'm hearing
healers?
what I'm hearing is there are no doctors on that island.
No.
Yes.
No, there are not.
It's funny. I said yes, you said no, but we mean the same thing.
Yes.
Chapter 3 begins with artwork of Salamandastron at night. So, with some hairs on the beach, clearly around a fire. And yes, fire at the ocean side, but okay, fine, it's Salamandastron. What's the worst that could happen?
No, you know.
I set that up. So we actually have a pretty engaged Salamandastron garrison this time. And we don't have a Badger Lord, we have a Badger Lady, which is nothing unusual.
A young Badger Lady.
Yep. And I like her. I like
Yeah.
her so much.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
She's sort of like Rasanal the Wise, like kind of a gentler, calmer Badger.
Oh, yeah.
And again, this is not exactly new. Besides Craig, we've had Badger power couples, a Lord and Lady, for like the last couple of books, so nothing unusual here.
I will point out, though, where the first hair that we're introduced to, I'm not sure I like this name. Color Sergeant Nubs Miggery. What?
Yes. Yeah, the names get a little bizarre, which is not new for Jake's, but
No, but this book in particular.
Oh, they're coming. Some of them are still coming.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, it basically we have the Badger Lady who is interacting with her Color Sergeant and basically pointing out, hey, the youngins you put on sentry duty aren't sentrying. They're just having fun on the beach.
Making s'mores.
Oh, yeah. Redwall s'mores. What would that be? Anyway,
Ooh.
not getting sidetracked.
They don't have chocolate, so.
No, yeah.
I guess it would be more savory than sweet. Maybe like a sweet nut bread with like a cheese sauce and something kind of melty to go with that.
Okay, I did this to myself, but now I'm really hungry.
It sounds really good, actually.
Yeah.
Okay, to be perfectly honest, the food porn has not been even strong yet.
I know.
Yeah.
That kind of upset me so far.
I mean, we haven't had a feast yet, so.
No, we haven't.
They weren't
Is
preparing for a
be a-
feast? Nothing.
is this even summer? Because we're told that it's at the end of winter that the ship repairs are done on the Vermin Island. So is this spring?
Possibly. I believe it is.
There's no concrete time given, though. Nothing that's like, oh, yes, there's clearly snow on the ground, or, oh, yes, it's scorching hot because it's, midsummer, or anything like that. It's just like, it's a time when snow is not on the ground.
I think it might be spring because of something that happens later, like in book 2.
Noted. So we get, it's a short chapter, or short section so far, but yeah, basically Violet's just like, oh, I didn't realize I shouldn't have put that young of cadets on the beach. Well, I'll fix my mistake later. Oh, I'm going to go to my bed in the forge chamber. Why is my bed a pile of ashes?
Very soft.
I just want to point out, too, because her name is Badger Lady Violet Wildstripe, and her name is Violet because her eyes are purple. And I couldn't help but think to myself, hey, I appreciate, Brian and, everything that he does, but purple eyes denoting a special character is better suited for fan fiction in my eyes.
You know, you're not wrong, but I still like her.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. I like her as a character. It's just this one particular, it's like, oh, she has purple eyes. And it's like, again, it smacks of original character, do not steal.
We're gonna be saying that a lot tonight, aren't we?
Yes, we are.
But,
I have it at least once more in my notes.
Yeah.
so we go back to Redwaller, and this is the name that I'm just like, I had to throw up my hands, and I'm just like, Brian, really? So we meet a few more Redwall officers, including the Bellmaster, Ding Taller.
I told you that was coming.
Yeah.
In previous
Oh, that rings
podcasts,
a bell.
I have warned you.
Yep.
Yeah.
Really? Really?
Yep.
Yep. I do think that I would not put this past Brian Jakes, because in an interview once he was talking about he couldn't think of a name for Marielle for the longest time. So he was finally like, I was just thinking of calling her Ding Dong.
So, yep. We get a formal. So, and they sing a song. Oh, by the way, there are 11 songs in this first section.
Oh
I
yeah.
counted.
A lot.
Yep.
Yeah, the first one was on page 3, and I literally had a note. I didn't say anything, but I had a note that said, where is it there? Third page, and we already have a song. Pete's favorite.
Yep. So, and yep, we also have a Waterville chief cook, Friar Wepple.
Yes. Who is a female.
Yes, she is.
That doesn't happen super often. We've had like Goody Stickle and a couple others, but
Indeed. And we have 2 songs in this chapter. And I'll admit this one is what from Friar Wapple has had me laughing. I try not to like just gloss over the songs, but this one I forced myself through because I wanted to. About Dippin' Pie.
oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
And if we needed an audiobook for any of them, this is the one.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
This is all
I
about cooking
very much
Dippins.
would like. Yeah, I'd like to see this, done with a full cast singing, and like have the friar singing the song and then get everybody in on the chorus. It's
Yeah.
delightful.
But it's the whole thing parents do. They make fun of naughty kids, so and threaten to scalp tails back in Craiga did, or some imagined punishment.
Yeah, I have it in my notes. Telling fibs to Dibbins to get them to behave. Ding.
Yeah.
But wait. If we have a character named Ding, should I replace the Ding with Toll?
No.
Nope.
Fair enough.
So the Dibbins are scoffing at the like, no Dibbins ever get baked into a pie, and like, I love how the adults are like, oh no, it totally happened.
And the old recorder's like, oh yeah, when I was a Dibbin, it happened to me. But you're still here. Oh, that was only because I was really little.
Yeah.
It's cute. I mean, it's cute.
Yeah.
The recorder has a weird name too.
What is
I
it?
can't remember exactly what it is, but
I'm
it's
looking
weird.
it up. Because
It's-
I did my Fotlink.
Yes.
Yeah, old Fotlink.
I wonder if old is an official name.
Sure.
Wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah.
Just like Mouse Babe from Bellmaker was always going to be
Yeah,
Mouse Babe.
exactly.
Abbott Mouse Babe.
I mean but as much as Ding Toller annoys me, and it does, it is not the worst one Brian has come up with.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I love this moment because Fotlink's basically like, oh yeah, it happened to me. And Jum Gertie's like, oh yeah, no, it absolutely happened because I was there. So it's true. And the two Dibbins are like, just gaped, open mouth. If Jum said it was true, it had to be so.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and we have a sister to our cellar dog, the gatekeeper, Dorka Gertie.
Yes. That's I guess it's one letter off from a Bible name, but
Yeah.
well, two
Yeah.
letters off, I guess. I just looked at the spelling of it.
Yep.
It's unfortunate. It's dork with an A.
I know.
Yeah.
Their parents got very bored or couldn't decide on a name. So, but apparently the Otter siblings know what this symbol is that the greedy hedgehog Uggo saw in his dream.
Yes, because they had an uncle that apparently knew stories about it.
Yep. And the two of them are trying to talk in private. That didn't go over well.
No.
Because of Dibbins.
Eavesdropping Dibbins. Ding.
Yep.
Yeah.
And they start talking about it and I've had this, and the Redwallers start like, oh, those aren't real. Oh, and they start panicking, and I'm like, this is the conversation about Clooney all over again.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Where are the new Clooney?
Stop trying to make where it happen.
Oh my gosh. But yes, they of course like, oh, Redwaller, their others are like, no, this is real. So, but yeah. And they're like, oh, but words are bound to the sea. They can't come here. Uh-huh.
Yeah. I don't know if I like this Abbott. He's just really, I don't know, kind of stern and not very approachable and not very Abbott-like.
I mean,
on his calendar to go yell at people.
Yeah.
We've all been on that job where someone gets promoted and they don't know how to handle it or how well to relate to their their current subordinates, former coworkers. So it's kind of what it strikes me as.
Sure.
I will say, it does point out when he gets introduced in the previous chapter that he's basically not entirely liked by some of the older members of the Abbey. So I'm wondering if this is him trying to overcompensate by living up to their expectations.
Possibly. And it says he is young, so
Could be.
maybe he'll grow out of it.
But either way, it keeps going, and then we have yet another song in this chapter from Formal, just basically distracted. But
yeah, because making light of ill omens is never a terrible idea.
Yeah. But John Gertie's just like, yeah, I gotta take off for the sea for a few days. Can you have my cellars watched? And we get into chapter 4, which actually shows us Violet Wildstripe in pretty close. The artwork, anyway. And that just leads me into...
How anthropomorphic are they?
Very anthropomorphic, because not only is she standing on, basically on hind legs, like, a humanoid, she is very dressed. Which, great, I can't make any naked jokes, but... yeah, incredibly anthropomorphic. But the chapter actually begins just more like, hey, pandemonium breaks out at Outlandish Run, is what we're told.
Yeah, this is quite sad.
Yeah. So
Hmm.
the hares sent to relieve the Sea Watch, aka the ones on the ocean who were partying last night, come back to report there's been a lot of violence done against their hares.
Unique violence.
Yeah. And this is where I'm, when I was first reading it, and I'm sure some of you looked at my notes here and were starting giggling at my reactions, but yes. The officers go out to basically, hey, figure out what's going on. And yeah, the hares look like they were crushed by something.
Yeah. A tragedy like this feels a bit too commonplace in this series. It's not exactly, but it's not unlike the only one day from retirement trope.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they went after the cadets, not the officers, but still.
Yeah, but it's like an inversion of that trope. It's like only, 2 weeks out of the academy.
Yep. And we're told that there are wheel marks that seem to have crushed the younger hares, and then followed up by literally double tap with arrows in their heads. or next.
Oh, so this is Scott's fault.
But, and this is where my reaction to the notes were, I literally have, are they mounting the ship on wheels? This is, of course, something I asked.
Mm-hmm.
Hold that thought. Because the wheel tracks seemingly lead right back out to sea. And they honestly think it's a cart at first. And, there's a ship on the horizon. Out to sea, where the mist is slowly dissipating.
Coincidence?
I
Of
will
course.
say, from a historical standpoint, wheeled ships or, lighter than watercraft that have wheels, definitely a thing, especially in World War II. So I wouldn't be surprised if Brian was influenced by the D-Day landings in some capacity.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
They still exist in some tourist towns, like they used to be in Branson before a tragedy a few years ago. But the United States military had what they call ducks, and they're spelled D-U-K-W. But what they are was a World War II invention of a literal drivable boat that had wheels on the bottom. So it was both a truck, van, whatever you want to call it, and a boat. Because once you drove enough in close enough water, it would float and the propellers would take over. They're not as popular anymore because a couple of years ago, and you guys probably remember this, in Branson, Missouri with Table Rock Lake, one of the ducks there sank with all of its tourist passengers on board.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So this is not a new concept, but the fact remains is that the vermin use their limited iron and metal to put wheels on the ship.
Wheels on the ship.
Wheels on the ship
squish,
go
squish.
round and round.
Oh, no.
Both of you are terrible, and I approve.
Braden, high five.
Yeah.
But yes, so the ship has wheels because I won't accuse Brian of running out of ideas, but but yeah, and then they also have a major, now say it with me, Tolobisto, a ballista
Yes.
on the ship. And I'm talking an actual ballista that shoots a big arrow, not a boulder.
Not a trebuchet. Yeah, not a trebuchet.
Not a
Even though it is
siege
the
weapon.
superior siege weapon.
So, and the vermin see Violet Wildstripe on shore and decide they're going to take a pot shot. And the first one missed her, not by much. And then they load up a second shot at the big bad's orders, and she just casually steps to the side as they shoot at her.
I love that. She's like, haha, missed me.
It's kind of in my notes of like, oh, you done woke up the badger.
Yeah. The way she just so casually just turns to the side and lets it just whiz past her. It's like, and then it's pointed out, oh yeah, she did it intentionally just to get them closer so that she could, get a good read on them and, who they are and what their deal is. It's like, yes.
Crafty badger. Love it.
Oh. And, I mean, the vermin realize, maybe we shouldn't waste our expensive ammunition on this. And get out to sea.
Especially not for what's basically a drive-by.
Yeah.
Sail by. But yeah, and as they're discussing, I do love the line here. Not all vermin are stupid. Coming from the Lung Patrol.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, they would know.
Yep. Violet herself says it. Not all vermin are stupid. It's a fiendish idea, but a good one from their point of view. Huh. So, let me get this straight. Reza just we already know, he picked on a hold of sea otters who kicked their butt, and then he woke up the one major center of power in all of Mossflower that will not stop hunting you down. Great plan.
Yep. He's what were we saying about not all vermin are stupid?
Yeah.
Just because they're not stupid doesn't mean they can't, be idiots.
Yeah, it is. We also get an answer finally in book 22 of 22. Why doesn't Salamandastron have a navy?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And kind of to what Katie said all those episodes ago, we're not very good at sea. That's the reason given.
Yep. Good enough.
Fair.
Like, you could train hares to be sailors. You just hire some sea otter teachers.
Or better yet, just contract the otters.
Yeah. Got plenty of treasure and stuff to trade.
It's like, we will be your home port. We'll produce rations for you, whatever you want. We'll make sure you're fully stocked. You get out there.
I mean,
But then again, that might be a little bit too powerful.
There should be, like, a navy. I know I've brought up this point before, but literally, it's like, I'm going to admit this. I tried when we started all of this and Game of Thrones was still a thing. I tried writing up a fan fiction that was more serious and whatnot, and I made a Salamandastron navy called the Sea Guard.
Nice.
So, I guess it's a point of, you know what? We probably should have this. But speaking of which, they're like, we don't need a navy, but you know what? Who is nearby? Some sea otters. We should go talk to them, see if they're willing to help us.
They've been here the whole time, all 22 books, but we're only talking to them now.
I know, right?
Just like in Doom White. The eyes have been gone since gone, but...
Yep. We haven't talked to them up to this point, but, we really otter.
Oh, goodness.
Ding.
Yes, I deserve that.
Ding Tuller.
So, also have, basically a ninja hare introduced. Captain Rake Nightfur. He is all black, at least for his fur, and he is carrying twin claymores.
I know.
XX underscore Rake Nightfur underscore XX.
Yeah.
OC, do not steal.
Claymores are some of the heaviest two-handed swords around there.
Yep.
He's carrying two of them.
He's very strong.
He's also very stealthy with them.
I wouldn't have normally classified Claymore swords as ninja weapons, but
here
we are.
They are, yeah. They are now.
I mean, I guess as long as you can move stealthily and swing them without making noise, any weapon is a ninja weapon. Even a giant, Krega Rose Eyes, axe pike.
Doesn't he hold one in his teeth in Rackety Tam at some point?
I think they do, yeah.
I think they do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, yeah. So, basically, she tells Captain Rake to take a score of lung patrollers and go be diplomatic with Score X Hound, because they're going to need their help. Okay. So, yay, diplomacy!
Yep, only took 22 books, but here we are.
So, Chapter 5's artwork begins with probably a ferret. It's not a rat anyway. It's on the rigging with a telescope. Telescope. What do you call it? Eyeglass to see far away.
Yeah. Spyglass.
Yep, spyglass. Thank you. Jem Gertie is mainly packing to leave for the Abbey, and Friar Wapple is packing raccoons into his haversack and, quote, "Go easy, Marm. I'm not planning to go on for 10 seasons. That's enough victuals to keep a regiment of Salamandastron hares going." How much is he packing?
Yeah.
Or she packing in this case?
Enough for one Ugo, apparently.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of, Ugo's finding punishment to eating that entire fruitcake was 3 days pot washing. Yep.
I mean, if you want to eat the
think it's
cake, you
suitable.
got to wash the dishes.
Yeah.
So, and his pot washing skills are lacking, shall we say.
I feel bad for him in this scene. I think more than I did for Orquil at the start of his character journey, mostly because it feels like every time somebody talks to him, they're talking down to him in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
So much so that he winces when somebody gets close enough to handle him. He's just like, oh, cowering. I was like, dude,
Yeah.
no.
Yeah, they're definitely not showing any of the Redwall tenderness toward young creatures
No.
here.
But yep, and he starts weeping. It's like, because this is so much work. I said I was gonna start. Now, kids, sometimes you just gotta do the punishment. I mean, I'm sympathetic to a point, but but they figure you kind of get this in this whole conversation. They're like, maybe a better punishment: send him off into the wild. What's the worst that could happen?
Oh, he might get almost
Yeah.
drowned and stuff. Not a big deal.
It's the same as
I mean,
not drowned.
it does give me very strong Orkwell vibes of, okay, let's get him out of the Abbey and maybe he'll learn some life lessons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. So, yep, they figure like, I mean, don't get me wrong. Sometimes you need to have kids have to have some kind of an adventure, but it's the best person to take. I don't know. Maybe it's just to get him out of the Abbey. But we're back to our pirates who are in the mid-sea, and we're like, okay, we're gonna go pick on some otters now.
One more thing, just rewinding.
Yeah.
Right at the end, just before we transition back to the vermin, it mentions the twin bells, Matthias and Methuselah, ringing out. I thought of something, and I was like, why didn't I think of this before? Do you suppose that the twin bells have been the twin bells longer than the Joseph bell was the Joseph bell?
Oh, that's a good question.
I
At
think
this point,
so.
yes.
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah. I don't know. I just found it very interesting because it's been like, we're far enough along in chronology that it's like, I mean, I made a joke about it at the beginning where it's like, oh, Redwall's being called old, but no, at this point, legitimately, the bells have been Matthias and Methuselah long enough that how many creatures in the Abbey actually know who Matthias and Methuselah were?
Yeah, I don't know. In Tagarung, they definitely did because they did the Abbey School thing. Like, they learned about it. But
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if they're like legendary historical figures that could do no wrong at this point,
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Are you saying the Bells have been out of high school longer than they were in high school at this point?
I'd say my 20-year reunion. Thanks.
Yeah.
We're back to the vermin. And yes, we're going to go pick on the otters, and no one in the crew wants to do this.
I
And
mean,
pointing
I
out
wouldn't
that-
Yeah, I
want
mean, can
to
you blame
either.
them?
No, and one ferret is just like, do we have, like, is this really a good idea? And he's stabbed for his efforts by a trident.
Yep.
Yeah. Nameless Mook gets off by Big Bad. Ding.
Yep.
Yep.
Yep,
There
not
you
even
go.
named.
Especially in a no-win situation where he's like, "Don't lie to me," and then he's told me the truth and I'll kill you.
And the crew is shocked by this. Like, really? I mean, you know who your boss is, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, go figure.
All right.
So, and again, this is almost like evocative of the first book. We've had a couple of points of this. A cart, and whatnot, and then literally the bad guy says, "Oh, when you get to Hellgates, tell him it was me who sent you." It's like, that sounds very Clooney-esque.
I mean,
It does.
Clooney basically said that. It was slightly different wording, but it was basically like, yeah, when you get down there, tell him it was me that sent you.
Yep.
Poor Skullface.
Poor Skullface.
Yep. Don't forget about Sinker.
I always wondered if he had a skull for a face. or not.
Well, and we get some very bragging behavior from our big bad, saying, "I am a were-at. I can't die. You've all seen this." Pretty sure you can.
But shh, they're not supposed to know that.
Oh, right. Oh, and somehow our little LeFou is on board. It's like, oh, I remember you. You're Bragio's little mate. Like, yeah, but I'm with you now, on my oath. Yeah. It's like, go get a barrel of grog. Make that 2 barrels. I'm like, okay. And we get a pirate song.
I think they mentioned Skilly and Duff in like every pirate song in this book.
Uh-huh.
Mhm.
Is that more because those one cooks were really bad at it, or it's just that common of a pirate dish?
All right. All they think about.
6 of one, half dozen the other.
And there are even more grog flavors. Oh, here we go. Strong adder sting and old lobster claw.
Oh, yeah.
That ale master must be either very bored or very good at his job back on the island.
Right.
Yes.
Or both.
Yeah. I'm wondering if it's one of those things where with vermin from all over the place coming together, it's just like, okay, tell me, what's the most terrible thing that you or one of your ancestors ever experienced? And, just getting everybody to talk about, oh, these terrible things. And it's like, okay, yeah, I'm going to just name all my drinks after these terrible calamities that everybody experienced collectively. It's like, strong adder sting. Yeah. Yeah, me old grandpa, he died to one of those. It was agonizing. Well, it's better than calling it, bloated from adder poison or something like that. That doesn't sound like a good grog name.
It does not. You're right.
So, and oh, hey, we're finally near shore, and there's a sleeping otter on the shore.
He'll be fine.
Yeah. No worries.
Might as well leave him alone.
Mm-hmm. Bye, Willow.
Yeah.
I'm worried. No. And then it's just like, oh, this was Jum's Uncle Willow that he was going to go visit. And it's like,
yeah.
I'm not cheering up. I'm okay.
That's gonna end well.
Yep, I'm sure. And chapter 6 takes us, and our first thing is a hare in uniform with his hands up like he's about to box.
Oh.
Boxing hair.
Imagine that.
At this point.
Right in line with Mad, Maudie, Mugsberry, the Han, Thruple.
Yes.
Hair names are getting a little ridiculous, yes. They get lunch detail out, and I just wanted to cry for these hares because, quote, hardtack scones.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay, I have since really fallen in love with the YouTube channel Tasting History, which cooks
great.
It's
genuine hardtack.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, oh god, they're eating hardtack in scone form? Oh, their poor teeth. Why?
Well, at least they're having it with tea. I'm guessing they can just, dip it into the tea and it softens it up a bit.
Hope so.
I mean, don't get me wrong, folks. If you have no idea what we're talking about, hardtack, or aka ship's biscuits, is another word for it, is a form of bread that you can cook that is, without any kind of refrigeration or preservatives, is good and for like a year or two. But as the name gives it away, this has the tensile strength of steel. When people bite it. So as my colleagues pointed out, normally people would try to soak it in some sort of liquid to at least soften it a little. And they made scones out of it.
Cool.
Fun.
That's exactly what they were saying when they were eating them.
Other than, oh god, my teeth.
Yeah.
It's
Oh,
part of
there
their
goes
training.
another one.
Ugh. 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 Ugh.
Well, on that note, but yeah, the one of the cadets is baited into fighting one of the officers in a boxing match, and I love it.
Who's
Yes.
gonna win? No idea.
No.
Oh,
the
we know
cadet
exactly
is-
who's going to win.
The younger one?
Yes.
No.
Oh, okay. You sure?
The officer, of course.
What?
Because he might be a little experienced at doing this. And I want to point out the officer doesn't lay a hand on him. He just dodges every blow thrown his way.
All while keeping his paws on a mark that he scratched in the ground. Just, he's that good.
Yes.
And the thing that amused me the most is it's like, oh yeah, of course you couldn't lay a hand on him. He was basically from like the first year of training. He was the boxing champ of Salmondastron.
They also don't have.
Okay.
And yes, I've learned my flamin' lesson at the end. Yeah, maybe don't mouth off to a superior.
Yes.
And we have a long patrol song, which is all about, hey, what's for supper tonight?
Of course.
Because of course, it's the Long Patrol. What else do they think of?
Vengeance
I can't think
on
of
people who kill vermin who kill their people.
Yeah, fair enough.
They make good time, and let me see. Anything else I'm missing here? I kind of want to do the let's get ready to rumble in the boxing match, but we're part of that. But oh yes, they find a deserter from the Big Bad, and it's LeFou.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of like him. I don't know. He just seems like a simple, good-natured type guy.
I have it at the beginning of my notes in reference to him that Crumdon is the very image of the happy idiot.
Yeah.
Not a lot going on between those ears, but he's trying to make the best of it. In the last chapter, when poor Uncle Wollo was done in, the guy who was on watch, who unfortunately fell over the side of the ship and was able to climb back up. The ship had been beached, and thought he saw somebody, like some dark figure, skulking away, but he didn't think too much of it because he was trying to figure out, how do I explain that the ship has been beached and not lose my head? Turns out it was Crumdon.
Making a run for it. Yep.
I mean,
I don't blame him.
If he was the best friend of the one guy who was even close to mutinying, yeah, I probably wouldn't stick around either.
Yeah.
So of course, because he's got association with Razid's crew, they decide to ask him various questions about what he knows, forcefully.
Yes.
Leading, of course, to Crumdon cowers, crying.
Oh no.
And he confers confessions candidly. Cool.
Cool.
I've heard worse.
I mean, let's be honest. Crumdum doesn't have any loyalty to his boss. Former boss.
Yeah, not anymore.
So why not turn on him? I do want to point out the Long Patrol do have to keep some of the youngers wanting vengeance for, their slain, but...
Well, one of them was, and I don't even know why they let him go along, but the brother of one of the cadets.
Mm-hmm.
It's like this. I don't know. I don't know if I'd want to do that. Be like a conflict of interest. I guess I'm thinking in a court situation. Like if my sister was on trial, there's no way I'd be the court reporter for that. But or if she was a victim of some kind.
Right.
Then again, this is the Long Patrol, and
True.
just like every other military organization, their number one goal in these situations is vengeance.
True.
Mhm.
But they did not let him murder the captive, which was good.
No, because they may need him for now.
Right.
I like the fact that it basically gets pointed out. It's like, carry on, I'll write it up in my report as an act of bravery. Private Trug Bawdsley slays a foe in a heroic battle. The vermin, a half-starved stoat, was unarmed and held under guard on a rope halter. Bawdsley showed great courage by attacking him with a sword. The prisoner did not, could not defend himself.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep. That's a thing.
Hey guys, it turns out that I actually haven't met all my deadlines by Monday. I think I have to go.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Details.
okay.
So, talk to you later, man.
Sounds good.
Have a good one.
All right.
Carry
Good
on.
luck.
Bye.
Bye.
So, yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
if you heard my dog just give the loudest yawn in the history of the world.
Nope.
Nope.
Good.
Okay.
I believe they find the late otter, as I recall.
Yeah, and they
Yes.
won't let the younger, they won't let just all the different recruits see the scene, because I guess it's just that gruesome.
Mm-hmm.
And the younger recruits are very much like, hey, we want to see the dead body.
Yeah.
It's not like we haven't seen a dead body before. Sure.
Right.
Is that why in all of like the police procedurals and movies and whatnot, it's always like, the rough scene, they'll have the fresh recruit who's just can't hold their lunch seeing, the terrible stuff, and the jaded old timers like, pull it together, man. This is the opposite of that.
So we begin with Ungo and Lum in the next one, Jum, in chapter 7, which is their artwork, where Jum is leading and kind of looking back at Ugo and probably annoyed. We can't see his facial reaction.
This is like Tamo and Resanodre, only not as fun.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Not nearly as fun. Because Ugo gets incredibly whiny very fast.
Yeah. And like,
But
look,
I'm
some
hungry.
whining is fine, but like, I don't know, he just shut up. I wasn't talking to you. My robot decided to activate because apparently something sounded like Alexa in what I just said. I'm not sure what. But yeah, I don't know. And I want to I like flawed characters. I just don't. I'm not a fan of Ugo, and I can't exactly figure out why. And it might be the whining.
No, that's perfectly fine if it's the whining. So, and
I mean,
John, I feel
we
for John
didn't.
because he's trying to teach, like, hey, you could, there's food all around you if you just learn the rules here. And
I mean, it reminds me very much of what's his name? Buckler's friend, the fat hair from Sable Queen. I can't remember. Diggs. He was just, he whined about everything, and he only had food on his brain. He was just the worst.
it wasn't Scarum, was it?
I mean, no, he wasn't Scarum. I wasn't going to go there. You brought it up.
Yeah. But yeah, eventually, he gets to the point of, look, kid, just stay nearby. I'm gonna take a nap under this tree. You'll be fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a road trip. How long before shenanigans ensue? There it is.
Yeah. I'm sure he won't go missing or anything.
Oh, of course not. It's only a 3-hour tour.
Oh no. It's like, hey, where are you, kid? Because when he wakes up, there's like, I had one job to protect this kid, and he's gone.
Yep.
Oh, he's gonna hear the end of it. No, hear the end of it. So we go back to the Abbey, and it's basically just quiet life. Oh, yes, we have a random guest show up, Twogs.
Great name.
with the last name of Wilted. Boggs Wilted.
Another
Okay.
wilted. Surprise, surprise.
Yeah.
Yeah, apparently wilteds are a common name out there in the outside in Mossflower.
Yeah, I guess.
And
In the same way that gonflins are a thing and they're everywhere.
Yeah.
Yep. So they basically, this is an older lady, and they feed her, and before she'll deliver the message she was meant to deliver, and I mean it's food porn, a little
Yes.
bit anyway of it, because we haven't had a feast, so that's so. And
Abbott Dip doesn't do feasts. They're too much fun.
you know how Song was ironically like when she first thing she did was Abbott pretending to be a disciplinarian.
Yes.
Like this is the unironic version of this.
Yeah.
And I put in my notes here, was Twog's Myrtle in another life? Because as soon as Twog gives her a message, she's dead.
I mean, she does fall down the stairs.
True.
Yeah. Twogs took a terrible tumble.
Oh, no.
So,
I didn't take it any further than that because it's actually a really tragic death.
Yeah. Although I love like her warning, and Martin's basically like saying, if you wouldn't listen to this one, maybe you'll listen to this one. Guys, I'm trying to warn you here.
Is he just taking out the phone book and dialing numbers until he gets through?
Yeah, maybe.
Pretty much.
Hello?
Yeah,
I mean, to be fair, it's all local calls this time. So.
Yeah.
Fair. I'll just read it because it's short and it's rather biting from Martin.
It's very snarky.
Yeah. Redwall has once been cautioned, heed now what I must say, that sail-bearing eyes and a trident will surely come your way. Then if you will not trust the word of a wilted and her kin, believe the mouse with the shining sword, for I was warned by him.
Guys,
Mic drop.
Mic drop.
Mic drop.
Guys, you think Martin's trying to get a hold of us?
We had our phone on silent this whole time. How embarrassing.
If we go back by previous book logic, Martin has to pick their higher officers, right? Which meant he picked this Abbott.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So, great job, Martin.
Yeah, but, Martin's like, I told you 2 times, dig the moss out of your ears and listen.
I didn't say that guy had Abbott. Why did you think that? Oh, no. So, we finally get some backdoor plotting. I almost said shenanigans, but no, it's plotting. Where Sheckard the Vixen this year is just like, yeah, we're going to go pick on the otters who kicked our butt last time. Maybe I should convince my boss this is a bad idea.
Oh, you forgot to mention, we're moving on to Chapter 8.
Oh, yeah. Chapter 8, which artwork is basically the inner cabins of the ship at night, and they've got a light, and they're playing a song, presumably. But because literally the second page of the chapter is a pirate song. But where also Sheckard's just like, I need to convince my boss that this is a bad idea, but I have to do it carefully because his officers under him are always on the alert for any kind of mutiny talk, although the rest of the crew kind of agrees with me.
Never trust a vixen, never trust a vixen, never trust a vixen.
So, and this Vermin song's actually kind of sad. Considerably, yeah, my mom told me not to be a pirate, and yet I'm a pirate.
Yeah.
And they're even hey, what kind of retirement plan do we have? Be a farmer? Oh, no, it's too hard work.
Vermin seem allergic to hard work unless it's forced on them.
Yes.
And
because when you're a professional pirate, that's what the job's about.
And one of the young readers, he likes, what if we just take that mountain? Yes, do that. Do that.
Oh,
I want to see that. That's entertaining.
Speaking of, you said retirement, I just thought of a random piece of headcanon that I listened to the last podcast that I was on. You said something about Dark Forest HR. I think that Ashleg is in charge of all of that.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, yeah, that makes perfect sense.
Like Vermin, Woodlander doesn't make a difference. He's in charge of it.
He's not necessarily. I mean, he was evil in life, but in death, he's more just bureaucrat.
Right. Exactly.
It's just like it comes with the forget this, I'm out of just leaving everything behind and just going on his way.
Yep. Anyway, headcanon.
Yeah.
So in talking about like where else would we go, one of them brings up Redwall, but comes up with the really distorted name of the Red Abbot place. So
Yes.
my question is Red Abbot ruled by Father Wally?
Oh no.
And Redwall doesn't have any of its legends. Like just how deadly it is. It's, oh no, this is totally easy to just take. We'll be living the good life.
Well, I mean, compared to sea otters, I don't know. Maybe they're comparing it to like
I don't know
fearsome
which
sea
one.
otters.
Yeah, which one is more terrifying? The Berserker warriors or the very well defended walled, for all intents and purposes, castle?
Yeah.
And maybe the otters are just more fresh on their mind because they just dealt with that. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah. And they're like, hey, why have we taken on this Redwall place? Because it's inland, dummy. It's literally what he's told. Like, it's inland. But our ship has wheels. I'm like, oh.
Haha.
And then we get into Razid calls his seer for like, hey, I need to tell me what you see. And she's just like, I need to make this look plausible, but I also want him to go for Redwall. And yet she's a charlatan. I mean, clearly.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely.
And he can kind of see through it. Like, it's implied, like, if you're lying to me, I'll figure it out. But no, I figure. Because it's her own blood that gets on the stone to predict where they should go. That, see, it's red.
Haha.
And he's just, but I want my vengeance.
Right.
But no, like, Redwall will be your victory is obviously.
It would take a lot though to like keep your head in a situation like that. She's pretty quick thinking and cool-headed for the most part.
You know, as somebody who's done a decent amount of learning of what goes into stage magic and whatnot, she actually does a pretty good job of being able to not only be able to think on her feet and ad-lib, but be able to come up with, you know, convincing words that match the thing that she's trying to force.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. But
the terrifying thing, though, is after he has her leave, he sits back and, for a very rare instance, allows himself to smile. And, that's terrifying.
Yeah.
Because when a big bad smiles, bad things are about to happen.
Yep. So when Uggo wakes up, he's got a splitting headache.
Always a promising start.
Yep.
Oh,
and
Chapter 9.
Chapter 9, yep. Artwork shows Uggo waking up next to a different hedgehog. So, and he's being, not only is he, because presumably brain damage from being clubbed unconscious, he's being poked in the brain. Well, maybe not brain, but he's being poked in the nose, and when it goes up his nostril.
Yeah.
Oh, fun.
That's not safe.
And Uggo basically lashes out, not realizing his paws rat, and he causes the guy poking him in the nose to trip, and the rat breaks some teeth.
Whoops.
From that trip.
Mm.
No one got the vermin dentist.
I'm afraid that's not covered by Vermin HR.
But we actually have an independent vermin group that isn't part of the big bad horde. It's just bunch of guys in the middle of Mossflower. And they proceed to make fun of Ugo's name, and okay, I can't blame them for that.
Yeah, when you got a name like Ugo.
With a last name Wilted.
Yeah.
And we're introduced to his companion, a different hedgehog about the same age, that is Posybud, aka Posy.
That's more of a Redwall name to me. Like
Yes!
Yes.
And it's very clear that Brian is shipping Ugo X Posy.
I'm not.
It's very obvious.
She deserves better.
Yeah. So, and basically they're like, hey, you want to escape? Hey, that's a good idea. And we're introduced to a small vermin crew. It's Skaggs is the fox leader.
Is it Scrags or
Snags? It's Snags.
Snags.
Yes.
And then we get some interesting other vermin name. Yajiri, Wigga, Jonder Vidi.
I don't know. Y'all, if we did trivia just on this book, I would probably lose. Because I don't know this one very well.
Yeah, it's Yurgi and Vilti.
Lovely. Although Vilti is kind of an interesting name. I don't mind that one so much.
I don't know.
I will say, I do like it when Posy goes to tend to Ugo's wounds, and she's like asking him how he feels and how his head is, and he says, it hurts like fury. And it's like, that's a great turn of phrase. I like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're eventually like, hey, should we escape? And you get this mysterious deep voice. Wait till tomorrow.
Who said that? Was that Martin?
John, is that you? No. Be funny if it was Martin. Like, hey, I wanted to do that.
Yeah. No, he's too busy. He's too busy roasting the abbot and the Redwall creatures for not paying attention.
Seriously, I didn't pick this guy. Why do you even need to wait for me to pick him? Is up to me, beyond me, but hey. But yes, the vermin fight amongst each other. It's nothing new, honestly. And the fox Snags is still the boss, and yep. But the vermin also kill a seagull and try to roast it, and don't do a very good job of it. They try to get the slaves to pull out the feathers, which is a thing. And the short version is the gull ends up on the fire with its feathers and starts to burn.
Oh boy.
Good stuff.
Snags is very unhappy to have his protein turned into inedible protein.
Yes.
So
and they promise we can go fishing in the morning.
Yeah, they managed to figure out that Snags is weak to int attacks. And roll net 20 on their speech rolls, and everything works out.
Woohoo!
But the mysterious voice that's totally not Jum is just like, look for the log for your escape. Okay. Sure, why not? So chapter begins with lizards. The artwork is lizards holding spears.
Oh no, reptiles. Why did it have to be reptiles?
I don't know. Do they even show up in this chapter?
I don't know.
I don't think they do.
Yeah, and I remember thinking, it's kind of weird that they're like, quote unquote, brought up, but then they don't actually show up.
Yeah. Not in this chapter. They will come later. But, yep. So we're still on the who wants to see a dead body kind of thing, because the young hares are like, hey, can we see that otter? No, you cannot. And I mean, I know younger hares would probably be more like, hey, But yeah, where's the military discipline here?
I mean, it's the old trope of young recruits thinking they know better. Ding.
Yeah.
We get a marching song and long patrol, and yep, it's pretty standard. And I mean, what else are we going to do when marching? Certainly, singing won't give your position away or anything.
Oh, definitely not.
So there is spears ahead, or mysterious, that we're told. I mean, they keep going.
There's no such thing as mysterious.
Yep. And they finally come up at have a smaller party detach and go investigate. And they find that there's spears with some vermin skulls on top.
Oh, goody.
So, creepy. And there's drums in the dark, as whatever made those spears and skulls are coming closer. And it's a good, decently tense scene. I'll give him that.
It's another trope of like trying to convince people that there's ghosts and magic.
Yep. And
Ding.
meanwhile, Green Shroud is
Yeah.
at battle stations. And they don't do that. They just say, "I'll pause on deck." It's like, there's lice in the distance. Ooh, sea otters to kill. Boss, is this still a good idea? Yes. All right, we are told that Resid's like, maybe that Redwall thing isn't such a bad idea. So, but he puts it to the crew just to like show that he still wants his vengeance.
Yes, he definitely makes them has them vote, definitely hoping that they're gonna say, "Let's go to Redwall."
Well, at first I love this. It's like he's like, "Don't any of you want to fight the wave dogs?" And it's literal crickets. Like no one speaks up.
I'm totally being magnanimous here, guys. I want vengeance because they beat us last time. But if you want to do something else, I love you guys. We're just gonna go do this now. Yay!
Woo!
So, okay. So I guess we'll go to Redwall. I'll just do my vengeance later. And we're told, like, some of the officers are like, don't enjoy this too soon, or the captain might make an example of you. He's a pushover, right? Oh, right, that ferret who got killed.
Yes.
Never mind. So, meanwhile, we go back to Uggo and Posey, and they're also with their vermin. It's just like, hey, we already reached the seashore. Funny, that took like Martin like half a season. Shut up. Did he have to duel with swans and the crab? Shut up. No? Okay.
Yeah, it was definitely a very short trip.
Yeah.
I mean, longer than a 3-hour tour.
But just barely, though.
It feels like a 3-hour tour.
Yes, they eventually get to shore, and hey, we can't find any fish right off the shore. Let's go a little deeper into the water. We'll be fine. And I love coming the vermin here, like, where are they gonna go? Swimming?
Yeah.
Hey!
And the thing is, because it's early morning and the water's like really cold, neither of their captors are particularly interested in going into the water after them.
Right.
Once again, proving that vermin, their selfishness trumps any good sense, and attempts to like think like they're captives. No, it's just, I don't want to go in there. It's cold.
Yeah.
Oh, well, we better go get them, because if we come back without our slaves, the boss will be mad, and why are there seals killing us?
Woohoo!
Yeah, we can...
Your stunned silence is very reassuring.
I'm trying not to burst out laughing. The highest take point.
So it turns out that Jum, in like waking up not seeing him anywhere. He's like, okay, I'm just gonna like keep going. Eventually stumbles across where he's being held captive. Finds the log, comes up with a plan, and there are these very nice seals. Although the male doesn't want me to get anywhere near the females.
Right.
The seals don't actually exchange any dialogue. They're just be like, well, we kind of like you, but stay away from my girls, and ooh, vermin to kill. Okay, we're fine. Thanks.
Yes. You gave me a fun toy to play with.
Oh God, what is he doing to that one? So
suddenly all I could think of is Arula with her maggoty apples.
I'm still not convinced she wasn't crazy in her own right.
You're not wrong. So they managed to make their escape, but it's raining now. Is that a storm brewing?
There's always a storm.
Hey,
I
should
need
we
to
be in the ocean if there's thunder and lightning?
Right. I need to count all the books where they're at sea and then there's a storm because there's a lot of them.
So, I mean, and yep, we're in for a storm. I'm sure it'll be fine, and all of them die from lightning strikes.
Yes.
Or drowning from waves in a storm. So, yep, and apparently we're back to chapter 11 where we see those spears with vermin skulls on top, and that's disturbing. For kids.
I have to wonder if the chapter arts didn't get swapped.
With the last one with the sand lizards? Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
And the people making the scary voices around these skulls and spears, there's the blood rippers. And, I always go through, when we're going through these books, I try to diagram or at least list out in an outline, like, characters between heroes, villains, and neutrals. And I was just like, when I first said, like, do I make the blood rippers neutrals or heroes? And I'm glad I put them in neutrals, but we'll find out why shortly.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, and they're like, there's nothing to be afraid of a skull. It's just a skull, right? And we get in, oh my god, this character, I swear. When they finally reveal what these characters are, I was just like, well, lovely. They're pygmy shrews.
Mm-hmm.
They're pygmy shrews. But not before they threaten one of the hare's mothers, and he's just like, oh, you did not just do that.
The pygmy shrew language is not present, like
No,
the
it's not.
established language, which is kind of weird.
Yep.
Maybe it was just that tribe, or maybe their linguistics have changed over past hundreds and hundreds of seasons.
Mm-hmm.
Who knows?
It's hard to say, but the pygmy shrews are allied with sand lizards, hence the artwork from a chapter ago. So, and we have the Emperor King Dippy Drampik.
Emperor King. Sounds like a mattress, doesn't it?
Sounds like a mattress sales store who's offering a deal. But
that's right, folks. Order now within the next 3 weeks, and you too can become an Ultra Platinum Emperor King member.
There you go.
But yeah, and Emperor King's just like, you can't go through my territory. And we're like, why not? So the hares are trying to be diplomacy at first, but because they see that, yes, there are pygmy shrews and sand lizards, but it's more like, we could take these guys, right? Yeah, but we should be nice at first. And then
you didn't ask permission to get through my land. Well, can we ask for permission? Not today, maybe tomorrow. We'll see.
Are you related to the Wizard of Oz?
Pay no attention to that shrew behind the curtain.
And that's when his wife comes out behind the curtain. And it's just like, are you serious right now? And yes, the actual power behind the throne, or just the throne, because clearly, I mean, it's even the hares notice in a comment. Duckwina, the queen, is just like everyone is deferring to her.
Mm-hmm.
She's the one that wears the pants in this relationship.
Yeah.
Yep. And she's just like, oh, I'm sorry about that. You want some hospitality? Come on, come into our sand dunes. And at first she's just like, oh, and then they want to the Picnic want to kill Grumdum, and they're like, no, we don't have to kill him. He's their prisoner. We'll respect what they're doing, right? And at first, like when I started the Blood Rippers read by this queen, I'm just like, oh, you know what? Okay, Jakes, I'm like this, a female dominant society. You won't hear me object to this, but this takes a turn later, and we'll get to that.
Yeah. I'm not sure how I feel about it.
Yeah, I want to talk about it, but at first, like, she's showing hospitality, and you're feeding hares, so hope you can survive that food loss. But hey, yeah, this is actually pretty clever. They're sand dunes. They have a fake sand dune that they've made through their own cement and weaving shell. It's hand woven, like grass woven, like outer walls, but they cover in sand and cement, so it looks like a regular dune.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And it's actually can stand up to some punishment. So, hey, props. And the Long Patrol does correct him. We're not rabbits, we're hares. Thank you.
That's another thing that comes up a lot.
Yep. I mean, I have to wonder, does this Picnic Shrew tribe, have they not heard of Salamandastron literally to the south?
Right.
I get the sense that they're rather isolationist.
There's something, because we're going to find out their behavior later, but yeah. I'm not sure isolation is the right word. But, yeah, so we get polite comments, and then the Emperor King basically whispers to the Long Patrol hares, don't you dare drink the wine. Well, it can't be that bad. It's like, can this marriage be saved? Hold that thought. Because I'm not sure.
Why does this relationship feel like a sitcom?
A little bit. But apparently don't drink the wine because it's drugged, and she's out to steal your women. I'm like, what? What?
Yep.
The Pygmy Shrews want to steal the female hares. Why?
Because they could use their talent in their little group.
I'm like, okay. I have nothing wrong with a female dominant society in this world because, Brian is for all, every kind of rightful criticism you want to throw at the Red Wall, he's always been pretty egalitarian between, who's leaders in both genders here. So, but this is definitely a take to the weird.
Yeah, definitely like taking them without their consent, not cool, no matter who was doing it.
There's that. And when we're explained, like, well, wait a minute, aren't we going to notice when our female soldiers aren't there in the morning? Oh, she would have waxed poetic, said, oh, they've already left, go chase them. And while she's actually holding them in the secret dome next door. Okay.
This strikes me as, Mom, can we have painted ones? No, we have painted ones at home. Painted ones at home.
So, yeah, they have to pretend to go to sleep to be drugged and to get their girls back. Okay. This is just weird.
A little bit, yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know how to feel about this. Like, is she taking them to be slaves? Is she just taking them to take them? Is she leading a glorious feminist revolution?
Yeah, what I
across all of
understand
Mossflower Continent.
what I understand is she's sort of like, if you've read Harry Potter, like Horace Slughorn, just collecting the talented people,
That tracks. Yeah.
but doing it in a way creepier way.
And when I say feminist revolution, I'm not, guys. If it's anything, I just come by now. I try to live by genuine egalitarian views. I'm just making a joke here.
Right.
But yeah, the chapter ends with literally Captain Rake Nightfur just like, time to be a ninja. Drawing both of his claymores, he's creeping like a night shadow towards the queen and her companions.
And I was so like, this can't be the end. I know there's one chapter left in the book, but I don't want this to be a cliffhanger.
Yeah. It's not, because we're going to have that question of the answer of the marriage can be saved. So, we go back to our pirates, who in the storm, anyway, chapter 12 starts, and the artwork is the green shroud in a storm, with the sail and the "we're at" mark on it.
Mm-hmm.
However, the actual story is following Jum and the two hedgehogs, who are still trapped to a log.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and this has unlocked a new fear for me: ocean storm on a log. Traumatizing.
Yeah.
Yep. But drowning stinks, and effectively they do get access to a bigger thing of wood, pine wood, than a log, a pine trunk. But Jum takes a head wound, basically a head strike, and he goes missing.
Yeah, it's like, I'm sure he's going to be fine, because Brian usually tears at our heartstrings a little bit more when characters die, but still, no, Jum.
Yeah.
Fuck him.
I'm sure the hedgehogs will be fine without him, right?
Oh, of course.
They're doing great
We're
so
not
far.
touching fate in the slightest, and
Hey guys, what's that ship?
there it is.
Yeah.
Out of the ocean and into the frying pan.
Yep. And yeah, the hedgehogs are picked up by the big bad, because and this is after we're finding out that no one exactly in the Vermin crew knows where Redwall is, and
Yep.
Ugo, learn to keep your mouth shut. It's like, that's where I recognize it from. My dream that I had while I was at Redwall Abbey.
Oh, you've been to Redwall.
So not only did you just say, "Hey, I know who you are," but you also say, "I'm from the place you want to go conquer." Shut up.
Right.
Yep. And they also, when they bring the hedgehogs on board, I can't tell if this is a joke or genuine, like this is straight up gulo, but they threaten, like, hey, the crewbeast guffawed coarsely, commenting, "'Tis a while since we had fresh meat." I think it's mostly just a joke, I think.
Yeah.
But the seer reacts like, these two are on, won't be touched on orders of the captain.
I think in many ways it's one of those where it's just like, yeah, I'm not going to even address that as a joke, because I fully believe that some of this crew would actually do it. But she's also doing it to say, hey, get those thoughts out of your head, because even if you're just kidding around, if the boss hears and he thinks you aren't kidding, it's your head.
Yeah.
Shut up.
Yeah. I mean, they do play it off more as a joke, like, hey, have you tried weasel stew? And they kind of just, laugh about it. And there's a whole song about cooking other vermin.
Yep.
It's supposed to be mostly a joke, but the cook is no one's laughing when the cook is done singing.
Even when he makes the joke that, I bit my tongue once, because he's a weasel, and it's like, And we taste terrible. You have to admit, that's a pretty great joke.
Yeah.
When Uncle wakes up, he's like, hey, what Matthias mentioned, he's like, hey, I know you. I saw you in a dream at Redwall Abbey. Oh, Redwall, you say?
Do tell.
And we go back to our pygmy shrews. And the hare's, threatening them at night point, like, yeah, we want our girls back? Okay, thanks. And no, this marriage cannot be saved. Because literally the husband and wife start arguing. And, yeah, it's implied she wants to visit violence on him.
Silvermort and Ergen Negru had more chemistry than these two.
They
Right.
really did.
Yeah.
So no, this marriage will not be saved, however this ends. So the hares ultimately have to get surrounded. The Queen's troops surround the dune they're in, and the hares are just like, hey, we're surrounded, what are we going to do? We're going to break down the wall. So they do.
Yeah.
And
so out of all of the hares that either aren't female or the big guy, the rest are awake. The big guy, I can't even remember his name.
Drander,
Sorry.
I believe.
Drander.
Yes.
Yeah, because he's the one that got into the boxing match and got taught a lesson. He's like Rockjaw Grang sized. And
he drank some wine.
He drank wine and went off to La La Land. So
Yeah.
After recovering access to the female hares, they basically wake him up and are like, okay, we're surrounded. We need your help. Step 1, wake the big guy. Step 2, aim the big guy at a wall. Step 3, let go of the big guy and stand back.
Yeah.
smash.
Yep. Pretty much.
Pretty much.
Let's see, do they actually get away from the shrews at the end of this?
They just have opened up the wall and
right.
The two sides are about to clash and it's like, I'm feeling this. Wait, it's over?
Dun, dun, dun.
It's over.
It's over. Sorry.
Yes.
No, I approve. But yes, the cliffhangers with basically the pygmy shrews and the hares about to fight.
Tune in next time to see what happens next.
That is where we end book 1, and not a bad start, but there are some. There are some fundamental things that feels like it's missing. We don't know what time of year it is. We don't have a Redwall feast, and yeah,
I would say, and this is just based on the conversation that we've had here since we started. I noticed, I didn't want to say anything at the time, but it's like we aren't pausing and talking about individual characters very much. And it's not just because some of the names are weird. It's because it doesn't feel like these characters have as much characterization as they did, 6-7 books ago.
Right.
I mean, normally with the Long Patrol, it's like, wow, you got some really interesting characters here. But it's like, no, there's a big crowd and we know like 7 or 8 of their names. Even
in Sable Queen, when there was a bunch of young kids, they all pretty much had their own personalities.
Yeah, and instead here we have characters with names that have some characterization, but that's about it.
Right.
Like, not as interesting. And I'm wondering if that isn't part of the reason why rumors about this book being partially written by somebody else came up, because it doesn't feel like even the past 3 books or so.
Right.
It's different.
My dog just nudged the microphone with her nose.
She wants to be part of the show.
She woke up. She's like, all right, we're podcasting. Why didn't you tell me? So yeah, I think, I don't know. This kind of reminds me of when I listened to those radio shows as a kid, like the national broadcasted ones. Sometimes I would notice that some of the songs sounded a little off, like everything was there, like the tune was right, the vocals were right, the lyrics were right, and I found out that they would pitch it up just slightly to make it fit into the show. Like they had a certain time limit, so they would pitch up the song to make everything fit into their time limit. I kind of feel like that's sort of an analogy for this book. Like the stuff is there. I mean, there's all the same creatures, there's all the same like songs, there's all the same sort of general things, but there's something off about it that I can't really put my finger on.
So what you're saying is the story was auto-tuned.
Yeah, pretty much.
Good way to put it. I was going to say, this more feels like we bought generic cereal instead of Cinnamon Toast Crunch. Like, all the elements are there, but something's missing.
There's a character that gets introduced in book 2 that I really like. I will say that. What do you call it? Not spoiler. Teaser? Trailer? I don't know.
Yeah.
But we can talk about him or her next time.
Sounds good. And it's a good start at least, but it's like I said, just something's missing.
Yeah.
Normally at this point, as we're crossing into book 2, it feels like we're usually at like a 6.5 or a 7 for like action and excitement. And the only reason I really have any excitement right now is to see where the Long Patrol plot goes. Everything else feels kind of bland, so it's like I'm at a 4.5. I like it, but I'm not like super excited. And that's a little depressing.
Yeah, I just don't go back to this one a lot. Even the other ones that don't have an official audiobook, like Pearls and Marl Fox and even Legend of Luke, which isn't also my favorite, and Lord Brocktree, like I can still read those and enjoy them. Like I can just read the book without the audio. But this one is just, it's kind of hard to get through in places. Like there's some good parts. There's definitely some good stuff coming up. But it's just, some of it is just like, I don't know, it just doesn't feel right, and therefore it's hard for me to get through.
Yeah. Good way to put it. Okay, so good news, by the way.
Brian.
Yeah, good news, by the way,
Yes.
folks. I finally fixed the Google Podcasts problem.
Oh, good.
That's been a problem for a while. It's not Google Podcasts anymore. They merged that into YouTube.
Oh, right, YouTube Music thingy-mabob podcast thing.
Yeah, you listen through it through YouTube now. So, and it downloaded all of our episodes except the most recent one. So,
Yeah, I noticed that.
yeah, I'm still trying to figure out why that happened. So we'll, but yeah, that's good. So that says I probably should have checked the iTunes reviews before this, but hey, you know, I'm human. So stall.
Would you like me to babble about where they can find us while you're doing that?
Sure.
Let's see if I can do it. You can find us at recorderonthewall.com. Are we on the subreddit in the forum?
Sort of.
Okay, we're sort of
Kinda.
on the subreddit in the forum. Is it still Eulalia or is it our Redwall now?
I mean,
I think.
both, but
Okay.
I mean, I think our Eulalie is the more active one. I haven't checked
Okay.
on our Redwall in a while. Our
Well, you'll
Redwall
find
was
us.
not Redwall related for a long time, and I think that sub finally became available because whoever was running it stopped.
Okay. Well, we
Yeah.
might be.
that was
We
about
will.
a year ago.
We will maybe, possibly, perhapsably be on that one. We do have an email that works. It is rotwpod@gmail.com. That used to be the artist formerly known as Twitter thing. But
I
don't.
could make us a blue sky,
Yeah.
so I probably should.
But we have an email. We have a Spotify and a iTunes, Apple, whatever you call it, where you can leave us reviews. We are found on those podcasting things: Apple Podcasts, YouTube Podcasts, Spotify Podcasts, any podcatcher that will podcatch. We are there. I give
So
myself
what
a
I'm
solid.
hearing is we're
Hmm?
on you Spotitunes.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I give myself a solid C- on that effort of where you can find us.
And we don't have any new iTunes reviews, unfortunately.
Give us 5 stars.
Wait a minute. I can say that we do have some Spotify reviews.
Oh.
Ooh.
There's like 20.
Fancy.
There's 24 of them. Here, let me see if I can see the details on it. There's 24 of them at a 4.6.
Sweet.
To log in for
Nice.
this. This means I have to remember my. So I'll have to check that later because I don't remember the login for this.
Can you edit it and post all that information?
Yes, I will.
Awesome.
All right, we will. But yeah. Anyway, I'm Pete.
I'm Matthias.
I'm Katie.
And we'll see you next time, folks.
Later.
Bye.